Hi, I'm Tim Johnson of Positive Light Media. I'm a video producer and storyteller here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. As promised, today's video blog topic is really geared toward the teachers and the educators out there. We're all feeling anxious as a result of the coronavirus and all the unknowns that it brings to our lives and our world throughout this nation. Many of you as educators are being asked to teach from home, and chances are video is going to become part of that for you. Now, we're anxious about enough things, and using video to teach and to present doesn't have to be one additional thing that we feel anxious about. So I'm really hoping that by creating this video blog today that it can make it a little bit easier for you. And I just want to pause for a moment here. We know as parents of students and as other people sharing this journey called life with you that this isn't going to be easy. And we know that you are not a news anchor and that you're not an actor and that this is in many cases new to you. So I hope that as you're figuring this out that you'll offer yourselves a measure of grace and that perhaps this will help you today. Now, in spite of the fact that this is geared primarily at teachers and educators, I also hope that it will help those of you who are working from home and are accustomed to making presentations in person, that you also can benefit from this and find some ways to make the process of using video from home just a little bit easier. Now, this video blog is not meant to be exhaustive on the technical side, and one thing that we will not be covering today is how to do video live. Now, this is just my opinion, but I think that with people being at home and trying to socially distance themselves, that it's going to be difficult to do things on a schedule. So in spite of the fact that many of you may try to do this live, I am going to choose to focus today's topic on creating video that can be watched anytime that it's convenient for your end viewer. Finally, before we get into it, I want to let you know that today's video blog is going to be significantly longer than I would typically recommend, which might be 5 minutes, give or take. Because of that, and because your time is valuable, in the YouTube posting of this video, I'm going to provide links so that you can jump ahead to sections that might be more relevant or more of interest to you. So I hope you find that helpful. So let's talk about the topics that we're going to cover today. We're going to cover composition and framing up the shot. We're going to cover lighting and audio. We're also going to cover some tips about your on-camera performance. And then finally, we're going to talk just a little bit about how you can successfully post your video online so that whomever it is that needs to see it can see it easily and successfully. Let's start by talking about composition and framing. Now, one thing I want to get out of the way right away is that all of my shots when I create video are going to be composed horizontally rather than vertically. Now, I know that it's super easy to take your phone out and hold it vertically like this, but I'm going to encourage you not to do that for the simple reason that the people watching your video might be watching it on multiple devices. And while the phone and the tablets are very adaptable as far as being able to be rotated and adapting to however the video is shot, a laptop doesn't do that, and a computer desktop doesn't do that. So let's make sure that the viewing experience is the best that it can be, regardless of what kind of device that somebody's watching on. Our next tip is going to be that we're going to put the camera at eye level. We don't want to put the camera too low because chances are nobody wants to look up your nose and it's not a terribly flattering viewpoint of you. We also want to make sure that the camera is not mounted too high, because if we mount it too high, then the viewer is looming down over you, and that also is not a particularly flattering viewpoint. We also want to make sure that the camera is not too close. Now, if you're going to call up your best friend or maybe mom or dad or your spouse and do a FaceTime with them, it might be perfectly fine to be this close, because the relationship that you have with that person is different than the relationship that you have with your students or colleagues. The other thing about having the camera too close is that it distorts your face and you look like a bit of a caricature under yourself. And we want to make sure that this is as flattering of an experience for you as possible. So make sure that you don't put that camera too close to your face. In my case, my camera is about 6 to 7 feet away from me, and I think it serves me pretty well. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, how am I going to do that if I don't have gadgetry to get my camera up at eye level, like a tripod for your iPhone or your iPad? So take a look at this picture that I took of me with my laptop. I found some books and I set the camera up on the laptop and I looked at the little green dot on the laptop computer that indicates where the camera lens is, and I think it works out pretty well. All right, let's talk about lighting. Lighting is incredibly important to making sure that your video looks as good as possible. Now, in my case, I have access to a lot of tools. So I've got a big light source up here. But one of the first things that I might encourage you to look for is a big picture window. And if it's a cloudy day, this can look especially good to use a picture window as your light source. It's nice and soft and makes you look good on camera. If it happens to be too sunny outside and you've got a thin set of shears that you can close over the picture window, that can look pretty good. On other days, you might consider using an incandescent lamp. And again, the flattering angle here is that the light is about 30 to 45 degrees from where the camera is, and it provides nice, flattering light on your face. Now, one thing I might mention about recording with a laptop, or even with an iPhone if it's dark outside, is that it tends to cast a lot of blue light on you, and that's not very flattering either. So we want to not only think about the direction that the light is coming from, but we want to think about the quality of the light. Is it daylight, which certainly is the most flattering light that you can have, and my light is set up to match daylight lighting. Or if you don't have daylight light and you've got a good old-fashioned incandescent lamp and a bulb, that can look really great too. Thomas asked me about making sure that we don't have glare on our glasses. Now, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to demonstrate this here, but if I take an ordinary flashlight and I turn it on and I aim it right at my face so that that's reflecting into the lens of the camera, you can see that the glare off my glasses is pretty objectionable. But when I start to move the light around, even though the face continues to be lit, you don't have nearly that problem. So again, when you are lighting yourself up for a video, make sure that the light is aimed at you from a direction other than the direction the camera is. So I don't want to put the light right above the lens of the camera if I can help it and I wear glasses. I want to make sure that I put it off to the side, and that'll help that a lot. The other thing that you can do is that you can raise the light up relative to the level of the lens on the camera, and that will also cause the glare in the glasses not to reflect back into the lens so much. Now, one other thing that reminds me of about lighting is that you'll notice that this light source is coming from not only a slight angle off camera, but it's also a little bit higher than where I am, but it's not completely top down. And if you want to see how bad top-down lighting is, just go stand underneath your favorite chandelier in your home or your favorite ceiling light fixture and take a picture of yourself with your phone, and you'll see that it creates really deep eye sockets below your eyebrows, and again, it's just not a flattering look. So we want to make sure that our light is slightly off to the side and slightly higher than eye level to produce the most flattering light. And again, I'm going to provide some links and resources, because if you can't achieve the lighting that you want, there's a lot of more inexpensive solutions out there that we can offer you that will help you make you look as good on camera as possible without blowing the bank. Much of what I use, given that I'm in this as a profession, is a little bit cost prohibitive for most of you, but we can definitely provide you with some good resources for that. All right, let's talk about audio. Now, this is going to sound a little bit funny given that we're doing a video, but I would submit to you that audio, and good audio on your video, is probably even more important than good video on your video. If people can't hear you well, they're going to tune out. Now, in my case, I have access to a wireless microphone that allows me to sound very good on camera, but you may not have a wireless microphone, and so you're wondering what to do. Now, again, we're going to provide some links to resources where you can get these things, but if you're recording your video with your iPhone or with your iPad or any other tablet or your laptop, think about taking advantage of the tools you already own. Most everybody owns a set of earpods with a microphone in it. Granted, it might not look that great on camera, but it's a great way to make sure that you have better audio than you would if the camera is 6 to 8 feet away like mine is right now. This is one case where if you absolutely don't have a good way to record audio with some type of external microphone, then I would encourage you to break the rule that we talked about earlier about having the camera too close, because I'd rather have you be a little bit less flattered on camera and have good audio than to have you look great and not be able to hear it. So that's a good tip for you as you're thinking about how you make sure that you have good audio on camera. If you don't have an external microphone, I'd really encourage you to find as quiet a room as possible to work in. Now, one thing that's great about the room that I'm working in here today is that there's carpet on the floor, there's lots of soft furniture, and all of these things really serve to dampen the echo in the room. So if you've got a room that's full of hardwood floors and there's no carpet or no soft surfaces to absorb some of the echo, and you don't have an external microphone, then I would encourage you to figure out what you can do. Maybe you need to get carpet for that room. Maybe you need to put packing blankets on the floor around you, or anything that you can do to deaden that sound, especially if you don't have a microphone that you can wear or put very close to you, is going to be very helpful at making sure that you sound as good as you possibly can. All right, let's talk about on-camera performance, because of all the things that we've talked about today, that's probably the one thing that makes you the most nervous. Rich asks, how do I make sure that I can put my notes somewhere where it doesn't constantly look like I'm distracted? Well, one thing you've probably figured out by watching me today is that I don't have a teleprompter. I would love to have one, but it simply isn't in the budget, so I'm working from notes, and I'm speaking extemporaneously to you today using an outline. I would love to have a teleprompter, but I'm not Lester Holt, I'm not Savannah Guthrie, I'm not your favorite news anchor that you watch every night. I'm just a video producer, and this is not my main thing to be on camera. And I'm guessing it's not your main thing either. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna own the fact that we have notes. We're gonna periodically look at them, and then we're gonna look back at the camera and make really good eye contact with that lens, and we're gonna speak until we need to look at our notes again. Everybody understands that this is not your first gig to be on camera, and everybody understands that you're probably going to have to use notes. The same thing goes for if you're doing some type of online training that involves looking at a computer. Highly recommend that you periodically look at the computer or look at the notes, and then move your glance back to the camera, make good eye contact, and really do your best to reach your audience. It's as simple as that. And everybody who watches you understands that, and it's a great way to feel more confident about the fact that you're going to have to go back and forth between your notes and between engaging with your audience through the lens of that camera. All right, the final topic that we're going to talk about today is posting your video online. And again, we're posting our videos because today we're not talking about live streaming. The two top places that you should be thinking about posting your video online that I would recommend are YouTube and Vimeo. Now, why is that? You might have other favorites. You might have a proprietary system at your school where you want to post the videos. You might want to post them to an individual website of some sort. And while that's all great, and while I would never discourage you from posting it in any of those places, especially if that's what your school has agreed to do or your workplace has agreed to do, I would strongly encourage you to post all of your content on Vimeo or YouTube. The reason for this is that everybody who needs to consume video content, no matter what their device is, can successfully and easily watch it on YouTube or Vimeo. Let me say that again. Everybody who watches your content and needs to consume that content can successfully do so on Vimeo or YouTube, regardless of what device they're using to do it. I can't tell you the number of times when I've tried to go watch a video online on somebody's website, and maybe I didn't have the right plugin, or maybe I wasn't able to get my browser to cooperate with that particular way of serving up the video regardless of the situation. Now, the thing that I will caution you on that I'm sure many of you are thinking as I make this recommendation is that what if my content is private, or I don't want everybody to see it? Well, the good news there is that between the two platforms, you can come up with a way for your content to be password protected if it needs to be, or if you just don't want everybody finding it, your content can be unlisted. There's a whole host of ways that I would encourage you to get to know about both Vimeo and YouTube where you can not have that issue. But the single most important issue, I think, is the fact that people can easily watch and consume that content. So go ahead and post it on your internal website or through your internal way that you like to do that, but at least as a backup during these incredibly stressful times, make sure that people can access your content through something like, specifically through Vimeo or YouTube, so that there's absolutely no issue with being able to consume your content. We want to make this as easy as possible so that your viewers can get the maximum benefit out of what you're creating for them. Finally, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to remind you that you should give yourself some grace when it comes to how you do this. You'll get better as you go along. I hope that those of you that are more in the know about how to do this will help each other out and be helpful and kind to those who this is not the natural way for them to do it. As usual, I hope that you will share this content and comment, ask questions. I know that there are a ton of things that I haven't covered today, but that's why we have the ability to comment and ask questions. So if you have questions about how to better use video as you're figuring out how to communicate during these very unique times that we're going through, I hope that you'll ask and I'll be glad to help. Once again, I'm Tim Johnson of Positive Light Media. I'm a video producer and storyteller here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you hang in there and that we can all get through this together. Thanks for watching.